All right, here we are again with Mark Gunther from Overcourts, and we are talking about part of section 5 again, and this is just part of the section that we're going to go through a couple things in this section right now. Mark, can you fill us in a little bit on the HETPA Act?
Yeah, the Home Equity Theft Protection Act came about a few years ago as a result of buyers coming in and seeing a seller in distress, and the buyer would offer some lowball price with side deals, and unfortunately the seller was unaware of some of this. Some of it as bad as the seller did not understand that they had sold their properties. So this happened mostly downstate, fortunately. We didn't see much here, but New York State addressed this by initiating the Home Equity Theft Protection Act, and you'll see a couple boxes in here to check, and one of which is if the buyer is buying it as their primary residence, therefore they're not a investor looking to make a quick buck off the seller's unfortunate situation.
And that's what we usually have here, but
exactly.
Sometimes you have investors buying, and then they'd have to check the other part.
Exactly, and then the other part is the seller is representing that they're not in foreclosure, and foreclosure doesn't mean that they've physically been served with papers. It means that they're at least 2 months behind in their mortgage payments. And if someone finds themselves in either of these situations applying, they should certainly discuss it with their attorney, because there are ways to comply. It's important, though, that all parties are aware of what they're actually doing, and unfortunately that's not what was happening downstate, and a lot of people were being taken advantage of.
And so that's cleared that up, and they can either be the buyer or the seller, or they can both be checked, I believe, as well.
Absolutely.
Also, certificate of occupancy. That's more pertaining to doubles, and is what we would say, and new homes.
Exactly.
But with a double, a buyer would put in the contract whether they are asking the seller to provide a certificate of occupancy or not, in a 2-family, 3-family, 4-family, something like that. And new home, they have to provide a certificate of occupancy. The town will come out and inspect the home, make sure it passes all the regulations, and then it will give them the C of O to close. And so a little bit more maybe with the city, it happens.
Exactly.
More, right?
And I think it's important too to note that a lot of times buyer's lender is going to require the C of O in the cases that you spoke about, Al, being a new home, or in the city of Rochester. And I don't say this often, but I think that the city gives us some great direction on when a C of O is required or not required. Quite frankly, they have a chart that I've printed off, and it's readily available. I usually Google it.
That's pretty good. Usually if it's done within the past 2 years, I think is what it is, and it's transferring sale, they do not need to get a new one.
Exactly. But it's something everyone should be aware of, especially attorneys for the parties, to make sure if a C of O is required that somebody's working on getting that.
Yes. So that's a little bit on C of O, and if you have questions on that, you can get in. Buying multifamily, you can get into that a little more with us. Also zoning, how about zoning codes and things like that as well, Mark?
Yeah. In all likelihood, home's going to be zoned single-family residential, and if it's anything other than that, obviously the buyer is going to want to talk to their attorney and make sure that they're complying with all the requirements.
Well, great. Well, that's our section for today, and we have one more with Mark that we're going to go through, and the next one's going to be about the condition of the property. So we'll see you shortly.
Thanks, Al.